Okay, welcome. My goodness, it's good to see you guys pouring in here. We've got Anna from Massachusetts. We've got Becky from England, UK, New Jersey, London, England, Georgia, USA. Looks like we've got a lot of East Coast and good UK representation here. This is great. I wonder if this is a little bit too early for our friends on the West Coast, South Dakota as well. Okay, so we're working our way west a little bit. That's great to see. We've got India in the chat. Oh my God, it's great to see you guys. This is perfect. For those of you who I haven't met yet, my name is Randy. I'm the senior content producer here at Voices. My job is basically to do our YouTube channel, give you guys resources to succeed, to have better recordings, to book more jobs, get more money, all that good stuff. So today I want to do a little bit of a live video where we can just talk about audio questions that we see come in all the time. This is your chance to ask any questions that you may have in the chat. I'm just going to be kind of going through all the questions that we get today. We've got some coming in from Twitter and Facebook, it looks like, so I'll be answering those questions as well. But welcome, I'm so glad that you guys could be here. Lives are a bit of a new thing for us here, so you'll have to let us know if this is something that you want to see more of. We can definitely do more of them on the channel. They're a lot of fun. It's nice to just chat with you guys and you know, see what questions you guys have, and kind of takes out that whole middle step. We just like go straight to the questions and get to meet you guys as well, which is really fun. Yeah, great to see you guys coming in. We got Georgia, India, South Dakota. This is great, awesome. So I'm just gonna roll straight into the questions. I'm gonna keep answering questions until you guys don't have any left. So that's the goal of today, even if it takes us a couple hours. I'm ready to go. I've got my audio hat on. I'm ready to jump in. I've actually got a demo that I can do for you guys if we want to jump into a Pro Tools session. I can show you a little bit about how I would treat audio for voiceover. So that can be fun. Yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm really excited. Looks like we've got our first question coming in here on YouTube. Good morning from the Bay Area. One simple question: how can a senior voiceover talent whose hearing is not what it used to be properly apply EQ and other fixes to a recording? Yeah, that's a great question. As we get older, we tend to lose high frequencies first. So a lot of the time you'll be missing out on the higher up information. I already noticed it myself. Like when we're born, we can theoretically hear from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That's kind of the audible spectrum for humans. By about 20 years old, you're starting to lose that 20 kilohertz. I feel like most people are probably up around 17, 18. As you get older, you tend to lose that, and that's why sometimes seniors will have difficulty understanding conversations, is because some of that intelligibility starts to disappear. So it's a great question. How can you properly apply EQ? I think one of the best ways to do it would be to compare your recordings against other people's recordings, and then maybe get a second set of ears on that project. The one nice thing about voiceover is that once you lock in your, let's call it like your stack of plugins, you don't really need to touch it again. So you can kind of just leave it, and you shouldn't need to do too much EQing per project. So that may be a good way to do it. I would definitely get a second set of ears on it just to make sure that top end sounds okay. I'm sure the rest of it sounds fine. It would be that top end that would be a bit of a concern or a bit of a question. So that would be what I'd look to first. And yeah, see if you can get a second set of ears on it just to verify that what you've done sounds good. All right. Thanks for the question. Mike, why would you ever pay the month-to-month Adobe Audition when you can outright purchase a new DAW like Reaper, Cubase, or Logic? That's a great question. My thought on that, I actually did a video that was like subscription or not subscription. Should you buy or should you just, subscribe? And there are definitely pros and cons to both. I think that the pros that may go along with the subscription model is that if you're paying into a subscription, it's kind of expected that the company will keep that product up to date, especially with new firmware updates or new operating system updates. So if you are paying into a subscription, you're kind of getting that new product as it comes out. Whereas if you outright buy it, I don't know that it's fair to buy a software and then expect the company to also provide you ongoing updates indefinitely. I kind of understand both sides of that. Yeah, the second thing with subscriptions is some people find it easier to justify the $20 a month versus spending $200 or $300 on a software. I know specifically with Adobe Audition, which is a subscription, I think it's $20 a month is what you pay for Audition. It has some tools in it that are just so good for voiceover. Like they've got the frequency spectral display. I always get that mixed up, but where you can actually see the frequencies in a big sort of graph, and you can actually go in and edit things very, very surgically. That tool is really valuable for voiceover. So even just having that built into the product is pretty sweet. But yeah, I personally use Pro Tools. You can actually get a free version of Pro Tools. I think it's called Pro Tools, I want to say like Artist or something like that. No, it's one step down from that. I forget what the free version is called, but they have 3 tiers. There's a free one, medium, and then like a really advanced one. The free one actually, it really includes enough stuff that you'd be able to use it for voiceover quite well. The limitations are if you want to get into like multi-track recording with, I think 8+ channels, which you probably wouldn't really ever do with voiceover. So I use Pro Tools. I really enjoy it. Thanks for the question, Mike. Jeff, it's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in here. Jeff is one of our other content producers here at Voices. It's good to see you. Meryl says, when submitting an audition, do you suggest minimal processing, maybe just noise reduction, declick, and normalize, or do a full stack, including EQ, compression, etc.? That's, yeah, good question. So auditions and the final product that you send to a client, it's good to start thinking of those as two separate processes to mix those. Auditions have to be loud. That's like the bottom line is that the auditions, they have to be really loud, because when clients are going through that audition list, if you put yourself in the mind of a client, when they're going through that, they will go audition, listen for about 3 to 5 seconds, next audition, 3 to 5 seconds, next audition, 3 to 5 seconds. So they're going quite quick, and they know almost instantly if the voice is the right fit for the job. What they'll tend to do is skip over auditions that sound quiet. It's like a whole perceived quality thing. It's the same reason why commercials on TV are so loud. Loud audio is attention grabbing, and it makes you like perceive quality. I hate it because I wish we could be a little bit more sort of dynamic with our audio and actually really play into the quiet spots. But sometimes you just have to be loud. That's really the only way, the only thing there is to it. So I would recommend when you're submitting an audition to normalize to -1 decibels. And yeah, I would run all of the things that you have, noise reduction, multi-click, normalizing, compression and EQ, I would definitely include those as well. Broadcast ready is sort of the name of the game with Audition. So you want to get them nice and punchy. It's actually pretty clear. So I've done some hiring for some of our animated videos that we've produced as a marketing department here. So we have like our, advertising our SurePay system and advertising how the platform works. And sometimes we hire talent from the platform. And I've actually had the opportunity to go in and post jobs on our platform and hire talent, which is really cool to see the client experience. And I got a sense for just how fast we as the client go through that list of talent. It's you really know when you hear the right one. So just making sure that they're all as loud as possible is really gonna do wonders for you. And we'll see that people who have louder auditions, they tend to book more work. It's really that simple. So I hope that answers your question. I know it was a very long-winded rant, but that's kind of the name of the game today. I'm giving you guys all the anecdotes that go along with each of these questions, because this is where my brain lives. Keith, is the USB-C plug-in mic now better or worse than the old tech of the XLR or any other plugs? Yeah, that's an awesome question, and we got this question from our social channels as well. USB microphones have come a very long way. I would say even about 5 years ago is when they started to get to that point where it was like, I think we need to start changing the whole mindset of USB microphones aren't gonna cut it. Where it comes from is, I don't have a microphone to demonstrate, but if you think of an old microphone that has a transducer, it's got the diaphragm, has a few electrical components in the body of it, and then it sends a cable out to a interface. And that interface has an an analog to digital converter. It's got a processing component. It has amplifiers in it. All of that electronic componentry can do what's called crosstalking if it's in close proximity to that transducer or the diaphragm. So when you cram all of this tech from both a microphone and an interface into the body of a microphone, you're bound to have some noise in there. There's gonna be inherent noise in that microphone. So that's where USB microphones of, let's say, the yesteryear were not great options for voiceover recording, especially dynamic voice recording, where you want to really pull that listener in and give them a story or something like that. And you need to be quiet. Well, when you're quiet, your voice is too close to that noise level. So as you bring it all up, that noise comes up and it gets really apparent to the client. So this was a problem with cheaper USB microphones, and it's still the case where you really get what you pay for with USB microphones. There is a good one that I've watched maybe 15 to 20 YouTube reviews on it. It's the Sennheiser Profile microphone. This is not in any way sponsored or anything like that. I don't even own it myself, but I really want to, because everything I've heard from it has been completely outstanding. Like the noise, everything has just been great. So I think if you're gonna go the route of a USB microphone, I would say just be mindful of how much you're spending on the microphone. Anything above probably $200 is gonna be perfect. When you start getting into like the $30, $40 Amazon microphones, you're gonna get a lot of noise just with the cheaper components inside, and you're probably better off to go XLR microphone with an interface. Again, a bit of a long-winded answer. An XLR microphone with an interface is gonna give you probably a bit more quality regardless. You're getting those components further apart and having dedicated pieces for each part of the chain. So it's tough to say. I would say if you get a good USB microphone, give it a try. If you're noticing noise issues, then it might be time to upgrade. All right. Becky says, I'm interested in that question as well. Sorry, I'm just catching up, guys. You got a lot of questions, which is fantastic to see. Yep, Pro Tools Intro. Thanks, Jeff. That's the name of the software there. Love that. Pro Tools Intro is the free version. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay, Anna. Anna says, always had a director-producer in the studio with an engineer running things. Therefore, I know virtually nothing about EQ or any other adjustments. Where can I get up to speed on that? Yeah, great question. So yeah, as things shift to sort of a record from home environment, it's tough, right? You gotta learn those skills, and it's a whole it's a whole part of the process. I would say check out our YouTube channel. I produce a whole bunch of videos on all of these questions about EQing for voiceover and compression for voiceover. So I would say check our channel. I'm a little bit biased because I think that the videos there are fantastic, but definitely it'd be a good place to start. And I think there's so much you can learn from YouTube. So I would say check there. And then check what's most recent too, because things tend to change in the industry a little bit, and staying up to date on that stuff can be a good idea for sure. Becky. Hi, Randy. Hi, Becky. Do clients tend to frown on if a voice talent uses Audacity? A client asked once whether, and went rather quiet when I said Audacity. I'm leaning towards making the leap to Adobe Audition. Yeah, that's a good question. So Audacity does this funny thing where it uses what's called destructive editing. So let's say you grab a section of your audio and you delete a piece of it and then snap everything back. That audio file is now committed to that edit. So it's a very outdated style of editing. Not a lot of people use destructive editing these days. It means that if a client were to come back and say, hey, can I actually have the second take of that? I feel like the second take was better than the third take. You're kind of at a loss. You can't really recover that information. It also writes processing, so things like EQ and compression, to the actual clip itself. Whereas most other DAWs, you put it on as an insert on that channel, and then you can adjust them in real time or take them off or put them back on, but they don't sort of burn into that audio file. That's where it becomes a little bit of an issue, is when you burn into that audio file, you're sort of stuck with that. So I'm afraid to edit in Audacity because of that reason, because I always like to be able to go back on my work if I've done something wrong, or I put my mix in a car and I hear an edit and I'm like, oh man, how did that get past my headphones? I can just go back and revise that. So nothing wrong with Audacity. I think it's a great spot to start. Again, you could get that Pro Tools intro. You could make the leap to Adobe Audition. It's going to cost you, I believe it's $20.99 US per month. It's a cup of coffee a day. Whether that's useful for you, it's tough to say at what spot in your business you are, but I think with the tools that come with Adobe Audition, it's pretty sweet. I do tend to like that DAW quite a lot. And it's actually the favorite DAW. We put out a survey, I want to say 2 years ago, and we asked talent, like thousands of talent, what are your DAWs that you're using? And Adobe Audition was king. Everyone was using it, so it's good to see. Keith, what are some good headphones to use? Yeah, great question. There are the Audio-Technica. Oh man, the number is gonna get away from me here. Oh my goodness. Something 50 is like, they have like a voiceover, they have a range. There's like the 30, the 40, the 50, 60, and 80. It goes all the way up. The ones that are the 50, I'm pretty sure that they're like 50 voiceover edition. I have those specifically. I'm not a voice talent. I just like the way they sounded. I would recommend if you can go into like a Guitar Center or a music store, sometimes they'll have like a turnstile with a whole bunch of headphones to try out. I think comfort is such an important thing. It's like, to me, it's like sound quality and comfort, and they're the same weight on the spectrum. If I'm gonna be wearing headphones all day, which like when I'm editing videos, I'm wearing them all day. Actually, these are from the office here, but my headphones at home, I wear them all day long. So comfort is king. Definitely, I would try out a whole bunch to see what feel good on your ears. Like, I know some people don't like the closed cups. They like the open back version. So definitely something to see what you prefer. Also, the difference between open back and closed back. Closed back are like suction cups on your ears, which in music recording people tend to prefer because they don't let bleed escape. So if you're listening to a click track, you don't want that to get picked up by your microphone. In voiceover recording, it's not really a huge deal unless you're acting with music in behind you or something like that. You could go either way, open or closed. I tend to prefer open if I'm doing dialogue, just because you get a bit of that acoustic sound coming back into your ears, so it sounds a little bit more natural, which like in a long, 10-hour recording day, you're not sort of stuck in a little, suction cups to your ears. Let's just use that analogy again. Jeff, I'd aim to have auditions at -16 LUFS. Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff. Yeah, measuring your loudness is such a great idea to make sure that what you're producing is hitting the right benchmarks. It's just a really important thing to do, so that's great. Thanks for filling that in there. Becky, also, how do I check my sound floor? What's the ideal dB? Yeah, and I see Jeff is commenting there about -65 dBFS. So there are a couple different ways to check your sound floor. One of, I guess, the really practical ways of doing it is set up your setup exactly how you're gonna have it while you're recording, and then turn up your gain until your voice is coming in around -12, maybe around -6. That's sort of what people tend to shoot for as like a peak. So peaking around in between -12 and -6. And then what you'll do is basically record some silence. So no talking, just record, because that's where I've got my gain set to the right level. And then I would monitor what it's recording. So that's where you want to check to see what the noise floor is. Again, around -65 or less, so -70, -80, that would be ideal. I believe ACX with Amazon screens things that are louder than -60. So yeah, -65 is a good benchmark to shoot for. And that's just gonna give you, the best signal to noise ratio. So you want your voice nice and loud, you want that noise quiet, and that way, if you have to bring things up in post, that noise is only coming up a tiny little bit, and it's not gonna, not gonna be too much of an issue. But you also wanna check that noise floor with your noise reduction off. No plugins on, that's gonna give you sort of the best results. Awesome, it's great to see these comments. Oh, I don't know, destructive editing. Yes, yeah, destructive editing is very annoying. I'm so afraid of it, honestly. It's like it kind of drives me nuts. All right, question here. Even though we can get a good USB-C mic, is getting a mic that runs on XLR cable is an upgrade? I mean, shouldn't we always choose XLR mic over USB mic? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I definitely lean to XLR microphones. Honestly, just for the simplicity of having the components separate. I like to be able to plug into an interface and have a big control knob on my desk that I can control my own volume. I'm not fiddling with like the little dials on a USB microphone. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the reasons why you would want a USB microphone specifically. One of the only things I can think of is I know a lot of talent on the site set up every time they go to record. It's, sometimes we're stuck. We have to record in a living room or we have to record in a bedroom, and we can't have that set up all day long. So for people who are looking to do really quick setups, maybe they're in a hotel, maybe they're on vacation and they want to work a little bit more, who knows. Those instances, a USB-C mic might be an added convenience. It's hardly that much more convenient, so I would say just go for the XLR microphone. Yeah, it's a little bit cheaper and a little bit more convenient. I think that's kind of the best way to put it. But yeah. All right, guys, keep these questions coming in because I've got lots of time here to go through these questions, and we're running on lots of brain power. But I know by the end of this, my brain is going to be a little spongy. Okay, I'm just going to jump over to some of the questions that came in from our social channel. Okay, how do I sound treat my bedroom? Should I be using a closet? This is a question that we get quite a lot, is should I be using a closet? Walk-in closets are really great because they have clothes hanging everywhere. And those clothes are nice and thick, so they're gonna be dampening that sound as it sort of bounces around. It'll go through the clothes, hit the wall, and come back and go through the clothes again, which means you're sort of doubling down on that reduction. They're good spaces, generally speaking, especially if there's carpet, especially if you've got lots of clothes, lots of thick clothes. That's gonna be great. If you don't have that sort of a setup to use, you can hang moving blankets from the walls, make yourself like a little corner partition. That sort of thing works. You can also flip some sofa cushions up on their sides, you know, prop them up on a table around you. I've actually built a fort out of sofa cushions to record a section for a video one time. It was very DIY, but it actually worked really, really well. The thicker the material, the more low-end absorption you're gonna get. So if you notice, like when you talk, there's a lot of rumble in the space, or like it sounds like it's just like vroom, vroom. That you can get rid of with thicker materials, but any sort of like reflections off walls like this, yeah, you can definitely do that with just moving blankets, you know, winter jackets, what have you. When you're treating your space, one of the things you want to think of is think of your mouth like a laser pointer and think of the walls as mirrors. So you want to get rid of the first reflections first. And what I mean by that is, so my microphone is right here. If I were to talk, this would be a first reflection because it's going to hit there and go straight to the microphone. I don't really care about the sounds over there that hit that wall, the ceiling, that wall, and then come back and hit the microphone, because they're gonna sort of, they're gonna die out as they bounce around. It's those first reflections that are really problematic. We call them early reflections in recording. So yeah, think of your mouth as a laser pointer, the walls as a mirror, and think if I were to shoot my speech, it's gonna hit that wall and it's gonna hit that microphone, so we wanna treat that wall first. I would also wanna treat this desk in this case because there's like a big wooden desk here and the microphone right there. Yeah, that's sort of a good rule of thumb is treat the first reflections. Meditation with Music says, does GarageBand also have destructive editing? Only started using it a couple of days ago, which around the time I subscribed to your channel. Well, thanks for subscribing, I appreciate that. GarageBand, I believe is, oh, that's a good question. I believe it's non-destructive. Yeah, you can open up a GarageBand session and revise your edits. Yeah, you definitely can. Yeah, that's non-destructive, so I think you're good to go. I don't know why Audacity hasn't made an update for that. I'm really surprised because it's yeah, it's something that everybody should be on at this point. Any thoughts on the Sennheiser MKH416? That's a good question. So for those of you that may not know the MKH416, it is a shotgun microphone, so its design is really more for film and TV to be boomed in above a subject. And those microphones they're very directional, so they pick up very, very, very linear, a very linear path, but they also pick up from the back of the microphone. So the cost, you lose all that side rejection, which is great. So they're very good at rejecting side noises, but they actually do pick up a little from the butt of the microphone, if you will. So they're really good for voiceover. A lot of people use them. I know tons of talent that use the 416, and there's a lot of voiceover coaches that really strongly suggest the 416. I just know they're not all they're cracked up to be for untreated spaces. I'll say that much. If you're in a really good vocal booth, it doesn't really matter too much. But for untreated spaces, I would say a cardioid condenser microphone is the best bet because you get the most rejection from the back, and usually the back can be problematic. So if you have, let's say a microphone right here, this is my microphone, and I have a computer screen here, I've got one here as well. All that sound is gonna be bouncing off the screens. Again, those first reflections are the biggest issue, and it's gonna bounce right to the back side of this microphone. If I had a shotgun microphone, let's use this as the example, and it's pointed like this, now it's hitting that screen, it's gonna go right into the butt of the microphone, which it actually does pick up sound from the backside. So I would definitely recommend a cardioid condenser microphone, not a super-cardioid or hypercardioid, which are shotgun microphones. They can be a bit more problematic than I think people generally than they generally expect. There can be some problems with that too. So, good question though. I've recently decided on a nice USB mic, which works for my needs at the moment, but will I lose opportunities if people learn that I'm using an XLR? Maybe if people learn that I'm not using an XLR. I don't think clients care too much. There's big air, I'm trying to be very careful about how I word this because some clients may care. I think when you submit an audition to a project, the client doesn't see what microphone you're using until they go to your profile, go down to the settings or the profile description and see, okay, they're using this microphone. Otherwise, they're not going to see it. And I think most of the time they're hiring you from the job response page. So they have a list of talent. It's got a play button. It's got their name. And they're just clicking hire right beside that. So a lot of the time they're not even going to your profile. They're not even looking at your history or experience. They're just hiring you from that first page. Can it affect you in booking some jobs? Of course, yeah. If a client sees and they're like, oh, this person's using, like a Blue Yeti or something, like, I don't know that our huge project with, Fortune 500 company X is going to work with this. So it definitely can affect you. I wouldn't think that it's as big of a deal as it may seem. So yeah, I think you'd be okay, but definitely, you may want to upgrade down the road a little bit. Yeah, okay, not using an XLR. Okay, gotcha. Okay, does Voices provide a service where they will assess your sound quality of your auditions, then give you feedback regarding the sound quality and suggest what is needed to improve? So we have a lot of resources on this topic. It's very difficult for us to assess sound quality of individual auditions because we have so many jobs going through the platform. It would be like just an immense amount of work for our team to go through that and provide feedback. And plus everyone's a little bit subjective too, so it's tough. I would say the best bet would be to compare against other talent, listen to their demos. A lot of talent will upload demos that are they're just normal audition reads. They're not like a commercial produced demo with the music and the sound effects. They're just like them just reading with a microphone, just plain, no music, no nothing. So I would listen to those from talent who seem to be doing well on the platform or have tons of reviews under their name. Listen to their demos, see how they sound, see if they sound similar to yours. That would probably be one of the best things that you could do. Also, we have, I think it's monthly, a webinar with Evan, which is the reading room, where he lets talent come in and actually read scripts live. They get feedback from Evan. Sometimes I think we have coaches in there. I have to double check that one, but basically it's an opportunity to learn from your peers and to make sure that your audio quality is hitting the right spot. So yeah, nothing sort of official, but there are ways to verify your audio against other talent's audio, and I hope that answer helps you. Do I have a preferred chain? Yes, I certainly do. Maybe we can jump over to Pro Tools for a minute here, and I'll sort of show you guys what I typically do for this. Let me jump over here. You'll have to let me know if everything is coming through okay, if you guys can hear my Pro Tools session. So I'm working on a video right now that's gonna be published on Thursday, and it is a video where I go through the editing process that I would typically do on a voice recording. I'm using an example that's specifically quite noisy because I wanna show how to use some plugins like that, but let's go through the chain here and I'll just kind of give you guys a rundown of what I would do to process a voice. So this can be kind of fun. I'm gonna take a quick sip of my water just so I don't dry out too much here. You guys can see this okay? And let me know if you guys can
digital media,
hear this playing back.
Work has...
You guys hear that okay? I'm just gonna assume, I know you guys are on a little bit of a delay, so I'm just gonna jump into this. But the first thing that I would do is address the noise. I wanna address the noise early in the chain because issues tend to compound as you go through. So I just wanna address that first. So I'm gonna highlight a little section of noise here. And you can hear just how noisy that is. So the first thing I'm gonna do is put on my noise reduction, and I'm gonna use a voice denoise. There are an abundance of plugins that you can use. You don't have to use voice denoise, but I'm just gonna use this one for purposes of this demo. Now, most noise reduction plugins are gonna give you the opportunity to learn the noise. So basically they're looking for an input. They're looking for what are you calling the noise and what are you calling your voice? So you wanna record a section of silence, much like this here, and click the learn button. So we wanna turn it off adaptive, click learn, and this is gonna give us a much better profile of that noise. So I'm gonna go ahead and learn this. And there's a little bit of talking from some of my colleagues in the office there, but that's okay. We're gonna use that. And then if I play this back now, you can hear how much quieter that is. So here's without rather, and here's with. So it's doing a really good job of addressing the noise. My concern is how it affects my voice, because this is where a lot of people who are new to audio recording don't get this next step, which is you want to hear what it's doing to your voice and that it's not producing any artifacts. So let's go back to the beginning here and listen for artifacts. We want to hear sort of that warbling sound that noise reduction tends to create.
First things first, let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message.
And I'll play that again without the noise reduction.
First things first, let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message.
And I'll play it with again.
First things first, let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercial.
Yeah, so I'm not hearing any destruction happening on my voice. I think it sounds okay. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on from that. I think the next step that I would typically do is a mouth declick. Of course, if you guys don't have these plugins, that's not an issue. There are tons of different options that you guys can use for plugins. You don't even have to do this step. I just find my voice with the microphone that I was using tends to have a lot of like lip smacky kind of clicky sounds. This plugin is really cool. It's from Isotope. It's part of their bundle, which is kind of expensive, but it's very cool. And basically you can remove all of those mouth clicks with like one button. I'll show you. So this here, we'll listen to what this is outputting. This is just the clicks. You guys hear all that sort of smacking? It's kind of nasty. So I'll typically put that on.
Books, animation.
Again, we're gonna verify that it's not making any, causing any issues.
First things first, let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audiobooks, animation, or video games.
I think that sounds pretty good, not really causing any issues. The next step that I do, and this would be the first step if I was recording in a good space with no noise, is I would add in an EQ. Where is that EQ? Did it just pop up on a different window? No, it's right there. Okay, so I'm gonna flatten this out. The first step that I would typically do with an EQ is get rid of all of the low frequencies below about 100 hertz. Human voice typically goes down to around 110. Some really sort of bassy voices would be around 100 hertz. There's not much frequency content happening below that. So the things that are happening below that are things like subways going by, planes way out in the distance, wind on the microphone, just any sort of rumbling. We just don't need that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove that. The next step that I'm gonna do is, I do this on just about every recording, is a small little bit of sweetening, little bit of boost right around about 3 to 4K, maybe 2 to 4K. So I'm gonna go ahead and make band number 5, bandpass, make it a little bit more narrow. And this is the range that I'm boosting right here. I'm just gonna do it very subtly. Now, our ears, going back to like when we were, our makeup, our ears have taken the shape to sort of emphasize this range, which is like the same range as like sticks cracking in the woods and, danger things for us basically. So we hear this range particularly well, which means we can use this to our advantage if we're recording, if we're producing voice that's gonna, especially if it's gonna have music, we wanna make sure that this range is clear and you can hype it a little bit to sort of your advantage. Just checking out the questions here. I see some questions coming in. So I was looking into it may seem like here, okay. Okay, we have some questions about submitting an audition for MP3. Yep, file sizes. Okay, we'll get to all that. Thank you, Jeff, for jumping in there and answering some questions. Jeff is an extremely proficient audio editor and video editor as well. So he's, I appreciate his insight on all these audio questions. Very, very smart guy. Okay, so I'm gonna take a listen to this and I'll show you what that range sounds like as we go through.
Let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audiobooks, animation, or video games.
Do you hear how it's sort of shrill? I don't want to go up too high with it because then it gets into that S range with the S's, and I'm going to de-S a little bit later. But I'm going to right around 2K, seems to sound good. I'm just going to put a little boost there.
Let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message.
And I find that my voice on this microphone, at least through these headphones, tends to be a little bit too bright. So I'm actually going to take band number 6 and just drop that air down right around 6K, just a little bit.
Let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audiobooks, animation, or video games.
And that's a perfectly good starting point. The rule of thumb with audio editing for voiceover is as raw as possible. So we don't want it to sound like there's processing on it. We want it to be nice and raw. The next step that I would do is typically put on a compressor. So I'm going to throw on this one, which I tend to like. I'm actually going to go to a preset here. So factory presets, a voiceover preset. We're just going to pop that on. And this is going to set it up based on some industry professionals who have sort of calibrated the plugin this way. And I'm just going to set it up so we're compressing about 3 to 4 decibels. So let's just
Let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audiobooks, animation, or video games. With the rise of digital media,
and now that we've sort of compressed some of those peaks, so you see how there are like the loud parts here, like let me find an example. So there's like the loud stuff here and the quiet stuff here. What compression is going to do is compress the peaks down a little bit, which means that we can bring up the whole clip a little more. So when you've gone to like a movie trailer and you hear like, in a world, and you hear like the, that release sound, that is typically coming from both performance and from compression. Compression really helps to pull those quiet sounds out of the voice. So when I pull these two sounds down using the compressor, that means I can bump up this gain here. So let's go ahead and make sure I'm not covering that. Go ahead and bump up this gain about 3 decibels as well.
Fun and lucrative career choice.
And now my whole audio is a little bit louder, but I did notice the noise came up there too, so.
Making it a really fun and lucrative career choice.
Okay.
Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audiobooks.
So I'm quite happy with that. I think that's starting to sound pretty good. The last thing I'm gonna put in my chain is a sibilance live, which is gonna control my S's a little bit. Again, I'm gonna put on a preset as a good starting place. So voiceover preset, and take a listen.
First things first, let's talk about the basics.
So this is what it's getting rid of. So it's getting rid of some of those really sharp S's there. So I might actually just dial this back just a touch.
First things first, let's talk about the basics.
If you crank up de-essing too much, it can start to sound like you have a little bit of a lisp. Like if I crank this, you'll hear it.
First things first, let's talk about the basics.
Kind of like it gets really lispy, so we want to just make sure we're not doing that.
First things first, let's talk about the basics. Voiceover is the art of using your voice to convey a message, whether it's for commercials, audio.
And that's sort of where I would take this audio. I wouldn't go too much further with it. Of course, this has been normalized already, so it's where it should be. But yeah, I wouldn't go too much further. You don't want to start to sound unnatural. About 3 decibels of compression, really broad EQ strokes. I'm not doing anything that's like, super nitpicky surgical like this. Like I'm not doing anything like that. They're generally speaking quite broad brush strokes. And that's because I recorded with a microphone that I think sounds okay on my voice in an okay space. This was actually done in the office, so that's why it's so noisy. But when you're in your good treated environment at home, that's sort of the mindset is like, it's going to be recorded great, so we don't need to do a ton of things to it. We don't need to sort of tamper with that audio too much because the client is definitely going to hear that. So I hope that this little demo was helpful. If you guys want to see a more detailed version of this where I talk about sort of the nuance of each plugin, check out the video that's going to be coming out on Thursday, and that's going to cover this exact sample in a bit more detail, so you guys can see that. But let's jump back here. We'll do a couple more questions. Going to go to the top of the hour, I believe. So definitely send in your questions if you haven't already. For those of you that are just joining, my name's Randy and I'm basically obsessed with audio. So I'm here to answer any voiceover audio related questions, things about your home studio, what gear to get, how to treat your space, all those great things. But let's jump over to some of the questions that came in from our social channel again. I'm getting back into voiceover and I'm a relative beginner. Currently, I'm rocking a Shure SM7B. Is that a solid choice for voiceover? Yeah, I do like the SM7B. So let me clear that question actually. The SM7B is, it's a good microphone. It's a dynamic microphone and its real design and intent was for broadcast. So it's designed to be like right on your mouth like this. With some voiceover stuff, especially if you need to be a little bit more animated and dynamic, you kind of want to get off your microphone a little bit sometimes. Just, if you're emoting and performing, you don't want to be stuck like this, like right on the grill. So I tend to avoid dynamic microphones for voiceover and stick with cardioid condenser microphones. They're going to be a little bit better with nuanced sort of detail recordings, especially in the high end. Give you a bit more of a flattering recording that way. So SM7B, it's going to be great for getting started. I don't see it as sort of like the definitive voiceover microphone. A lot of people like it for streaming and podcasting, and definitely that's because you're right on your microphone. The closer you get to your microphone also means keyboard sounds and stuff like that are harder to hear, so it works really well for situations like that. But yeah, it can be a good choice. Definitely can be a good choice. Tuning in from Zambia, Vanessa, it's good to see you. Thanks for tuning in today. Question from Social here. For a voiceover demo, do you have to make your own script and audio completely off the top, or do you have to take a recording that's already been made and practice on making a recording on that? So do you need your own scripts, or can you use scripts that are already made? So you can definitely practice with scripts that are, commercial scripts. You have to be careful about posting things online, just in that you can possibly infringe on copyright. So we do have some sample scripts available on our website, and I will put that down in the chat here. Sample scripts. But yeah, we have a whole bunch of practice scripts that you can use, and you can actually use them for your demos as well. And you can use them, put them up on your profile. They're totally royalty free for you to use for these reasons. So hope that answers your question there. Hi, is it possible to use voice as samples for my demo? Yep, 100%. 100%. Are USB microphones acceptable? We've kind of covered that. Is a bedroom good enough for recording audio? And what are some simple ways to make it better? Yeah, we've sort of touched on this a little bit as well, but definitely hanging up some fabric around the walls, that's gonna make it a lot better. Making sure you don't have any sort of fans or anything like that. It's actually tough to hear because when you're in a room, you very quickly get used to the sounds that are happening in that space. So like for instance, this light that I have right here has a fan on it, and I don't hear it anymore because I'm just in this room for half the day. So those sort of things, they really creep up in a recording, especially once you add compression and bring up all those quiet spots. So yeah, that's listen for the fans, turn off any computers that you're not using, turn off your HVAC system or your air conditioning if you can. I know some of you guys down in the South don't have that luxury. You've got to run that air conditioning. Totally get that. So good question though. All right, question here. What are your thoughts on a Blue Yeti for voiceover? Also, why is there such an expensive annual fee to even begin to audition on voices? Two really great questions. I'll address the first one first here. So thoughts on a Blue Yeti microphone? Great spot to start. Yeah, a lot of talent start with the Blue Yeti. It's available just about everywhere, so it's a really great option for that. What you may find is that for some really quiet reads, like specifically if you're doing something that's like, almost like a whisper, you might need to boost that level in post to make it sound adequate for an audition. And the trouble with that is that as you boost that sound, you're gonna be bringing up noise. And as we talked about a little bit earlier, USB microphones tend to be inherently more noisy than an XLR microphone. So you may run into some issues with really quiet reads. I think for the majority of reads, especially like commercial, welcome to blah, 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 you're probably gonna be fine because they're loud enough that the difference between your voice and the noise should be great enough that you're not really hearing that noise. So something to listen for. Yeah, they're definitely more of like a consumer product and less of a professional microphone. But if they're getting the job done, that's great. I've seen people book work with Blue Yetis before, so it's totally doable. Second part of your question here, why is it so expensive, an annual fee to even begin to audition on voices? So we have an annual fee for a few reasons. The biggest one is that if we didn't have an annual fee, we would have thousands and thousands of talent signing up for the platform, sending in cell phone recordings to our clients, and part of it is a preservation method on our part where we need to preserve our relationships that we have with our clients. We have massive brands posting jobs here on Voices, and we love to serve them the best talent in the world. And if they come here and they get, let's say, 50 auditions on a job and 40 of them are cell phone recordings, they're never gonna come here again. It's really that simple. So we wanna be able to provide them with top-notch talent. And so we set our prices in a way that we know the people who are signing up for a year, they're ready to go. They're committed, they've checked their audio, they've checked their auditioning, maybe they've worked with a coach, but they're ready to do this as a career. And we wanna be able to serve them the best clients, and we wanna be able to serve our clients the best talent. It's really sort of setting that expectation for both parts of the party. So I hope that makes sense. You know, the average job on Voices, I believe right now is just shy of 400. I can't remember, somewhere around $400 US is our average job payout. So if you book about a job and a half in a year, in a full 12-month period, you've already come out positive. So I hope that makes sense. I know it can be a lot to bite off when you're getting started and you want to keep your business costs as low as possible. And then here we are putting this membership cost in front of you. It's quite a lot to bite off, and I am sympathetic to that. But I do understand that our clients are expecting top-notch voiceover talent. The voiceover talent that are comfortable paying that fee are talent that they know they're gonna have no problem booking work. So it's a balance, and it's something that we do consider. I will say we do have sales that come up a couple times a year usually, and they're usually pretty good, about half off. So I would keep an eye out for those sales. Hope that answers your question there. What cardioid condenser microphones would you suggest? Yeah, let's go through 3 options. I see Teeple says I have a MXL 990. That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, let's talk about 3 options here in different price points. So we'll go, let's go inexpensive to outrageously expensive. So one of the best, cheapest microphones that I tend to like is the Audio-Technica AT2020. It's a sort of medium-sized condenser microphone, so it's not a large diaphragm condenser. It's a mid-size, I think they call it, and it's about 16 millimeters. So not quite a large diaphragm, not quite a small diaphragm. It's sort of in the middle. And I believe those are about $199. I think maybe even less these days. They sound pretty good. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people booking work with them. They're pretty good. Definitely a good option. If you want to step up to sort of the mid-range, something like the AKG P220, runs for, I think, about $250, maybe about $300, and it's a good sort of middle of the line. You may never need to upgrade beyond that microphone. If you want to get crazy and you've got money that's just burning a hole in your pocket, you can look to something like the Neumann TLM 103, which I believe runs for about $1,000, maybe about $800 actually. And that's sort of the voiceover microphone that a lot of people like to use. I know some of our top coaches and our top players on the website have those microphones, so or that microphone, I should say. So that's definitely a fan favorite. But I hope that helps. Yeah, I do want to say on this point, what microphone would I suggest is going to be the best one that sounds the best on your voice. That's like, you can look at prices all you want, but you should really be trying the microphones. I worked in a recording studio before this, and I was always blown away with how different microphones will sound on the exact same source. So for the longest time, for instance, we'd had a cello player that would come in, and we loved the sound of a 2247 on the cello. It just sounded so warm and so sweet, and we loved it. And we were recording this big jazz group, and there was a string section. The same cello player came in. We're like, oh, let's use the 2247. And then we realized, no, we're actually using that on this other instrument. So we had to think, well, what mic should we use? So we grabbed the Neumann TLM 103 and thought, let's try this. Let's see how this sounds on the cello. And just like that, both my business partner and I looked at each other and thought, how did we miss that mic? It sounds so good on the cello. So all this to say, sometimes, you just have to try different microphones, and they're gonna pull out little different nuances. But you may find that one is your favorite, and it may not be the most expensive one. In that case, you're very lucky. Yeah, it'd be great if the $100 microphone sounds outstanding on your voice. So I hope that makes sense. It's really, you should be trying microphones. See if you can rent them from like a Guitar Center or something. Take them home, try them in your space, see if you like it. If you don't, just return it. I have an SE X1S condenser microphone, not even 24 hours with me. What do you make of this microphone for voiceover audio? Working on my acoustically treated cupboard to be my recording booth. Yeah, fantastic. You know, I actually don't have any experience with those microphones, but I know a lot of people really do like them, but I really can't speak on it just because I don't have any experience with it. There are apps on your phone that measure dB. You can see what things are making noise and gives you an idea of your noise floor. Yeah, that's a great point. Love to see that. Love to use the tools that are free and accessible. There's a process of tuning your VO booth to find bad resonances and other undesirables. Yeah, there's a lot that you can do. There's software out there that'll help you with that as well. It can get quite pricey, but hanging up some moving blankets and stuff like that's a really great way to start. I'll be taking a couple more questions here and then we're gonna wrap up so I can go get some lunch and replenish my brain. Okay, when submitting, do you suggest adding slight noise reduction to it from room noise? Yeah, great question. So, or is the raw file more likely to get the job booked? The raw file is not more likely to get you booked. The raw sounding file is more likely to get you booked. So yeah, all this to say, feel free to add a tiny bit of noise reduction, tiny bit of EQ, tiny bit of compression, but we want to do it in a way that's sounding natural and doesn't sound like it's been processed. A client can't take your file and unprocess it. So it's always good to give them let's say like 80%. You just want to dial up these effects the way you like them and then just dial them back just a touch, just so you're not giving them too much processing. Because a lot of the people that you're going to be sending these files to are audio people, they're video people like me that work with voiceover in our projects, and I know how they're going to sound. I know what I can do to them, so I don't need it to be 100% of the way there. I just want something that sounds natural and sounds like you didn't, let's say, like over-process it in a way that I can't remove that, if that makes any sense. Yes, Jeff, thank you for throwing that up there. Condenser microphones mentioned AT2020, the AKG P220, and the Neumann TLM103. I appreciate you throwing that in the chat there. Yeah, Rode NT1A. That's also another really viable option and quite inexpensive as well, which is great. We love those. Okay, say you become a professional voice actor in New Zealand. Would it be worth moving to Canada or a top voiceover country as a justifiable career move in 2023? Does location really matter anymore? I don't think so. That's a really cool question. I'd never thought of location being like a barrier, and I'm trying to think why it would be. I know, like, you know, here at Voices specifically, we're located just outside of Toronto in Canada. And so a lot of our staff are here from 8 or 9 to 5 kind of thing. So we're posting jobs typically in those times, in Eastern time. So those may show up for you in New Zealand at the middle of the night, which may be challenging for you. But I think that you can use that to your advantage. And I know one of our top talent on our site, Toby Ricketts, he's one of our coaches here on the platform. He's from New Zealand as well, a very proud Kiwi. And he says that he uses it to his advantage. He wakes up sort of at the crack of dawn before anybody else and answers jobs that have very few auditions on them because he's the first to it. So I think that, you know, we're in such a global internet world that I don't think it's necessary to move. Of course, if you're in the LA area or the New York or Toronto, those are big production hubs. Vancouver also, where you may do a lot more in studio or, you know, actual live sessions with clients. So for those reasons, you know, it could be worthwhile, but we have so many talent on the platform that they're making very comfortable livings, and they're in like rural Nebraska, whatever it may be. They're anywhere, wherever there's a good internet connection. So I hope that helps. But yeah, I don't think you need to move. Fantastic. Okay, we've got a couple more questions here. I'll answer a couple more from social, and then we're gonna take a pause for lunch. But what's the best compressor plugin? Yeah, is it necessary to book a coach? That's a good question. No, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. There are people that are naturally going to have way more sensibility for voiceover right out of the gate. Maybe they've got a theater background, maybe they've got a background in public speaking. They're going to understand how to pull an audience in with their speech, how to they're going to know just looking at a script what that script needs. They don't even need to look at the artistic direction. They're going to see, yeah, this is a not-for-profit. I know how to make that sound that the client's going to love. There are people that are going to have killer audio right out of the gate. They have a background in recording. I would say a coach is going to help you immensely, but it's not necessary right out of the gate. I think that you could hire a copywriter to help you with your scripts. You could hire a production studio to help you with your demos. You could hire a coach to help you with your performance. There are any number of ways that you could hire people to help you with your product. Learning those skills yourself and being able to do them yourself is also very important too. So I don't think that you need a coach right out of the gate. I would recommend sending in your first couple hundred auditions so that you internalize that process and how it feels to record and sort of develop some of those sensibilities before you pay someone to help you improve them, if that makes any sense. A coach often wants to listen to some of your past auditions and say, here's what you did last December. Let's see how we can improve that. So I always recommend sending in some auditions before working with a coach. Okay, question from Gan RPG. I have a Rode NT1 mic and a Scarlett Solo 2nd gen interface. What kind of work should I audition for to start voice acting? I like to sort of do like the shotgun method, like audition to everything, see what you really like. And if you find, I don't like audiobooks at all. I just feel like I don't understand how to perform them. They take way too long. I don't like it. Then you can sort of start niching down a little bit. But yeah, to start, I would say try a bit of everything. See what you enjoy, see what resonates with you, and see what gets you the best booking ratios for sure. Professional or DIY demo to get going, or wait later? Thank you. Yeah, Edwin, great question. So I'm trying to think of how to answer this the best way for you. A professional demo is fantastic. It's going to be like your resume, your calling card, your business card. When a client comes to your profile, they're going to see that professional demo and hear the wide range of things that you can do. That's awesome. It's always good to have a professional demo, maybe even 2 or 3 that are in different categories. So you might have your, corporate, your radio, your e-learning, or something like that. Great to have. And you might even have one that covers all of your skills. Yeah, perfect to have those. DIY demos serve a different purpose on our platform. So our posting demos to your profile tells our system that you're capable of doing that work. So if you want to do more, let's say audiobook work, posting a few demos in the audiobook category will tell our system, okay, Edwin really likes audiobooks, so let's send more audiobook jobs to Edwin. Yeah, so those don't have to be crazy production. It can just be you recording with a microphone. It has to sound good, of course, but it can be totally raw. Just you, microphone, 30 to 60 seconds maybe of your best work, and that's it. You really don't need to do too much more than that. So this is a very long-winded answer to say both are great to have, but they do serve different purposes. I would definitely make sure my polished, so proud of it demo was the very first one. That way when a client searches your name, it's gonna be the first one that plays. So hope that helps. I'll take maybe one more question here. I'm gonna wait for the next one to pop up through YouTube. So send in your questions now. Okay, we got it. There's our question. So when being paid, how does that work? Can I get a payment to a different name than the voice actor's name? Yes, so I believe that you can use a pseudonym. Oh, Mike, I'll have to check on that one. I know that you can use a pseudonym on the platform, I'm pretty sure, but I believe that payments have to be made in the name of the person. I'm pretty sure. I wish I could send you an answer after this because I'll definitely go check, but yeah, if I'm trying to think of how I could get your contact info, but I'm pretty sure that the payments have to be made to your name. I think. I could be totally wrong with that one, but basically the payment system on our platform works through what we call SurePay, which is our system that protects you guys, the talent. We want to make sure that it's an incredibly safe and easy opportunity for you guys to get paid. So basically what happens, the client locks in the money and they get all the auditions coming through. Once they find the talent that they want to hire, then the payment gets locked in our SurePay system. and that payment is held until you're done the work. So whether it takes you a couple of days or maybe a week to finish the work, once you're finished it, you upload it, the client gets a chance to review it. Once they click approve, you're set to be paid out that following Friday. So it's all done through PayPal, and it's all very quick, very smooth, very safe. In our 16 years now operational, we've never missed a payment to talent. So we're very proud of that. We hunt clients down long and far to make sure that you get your money that you've earned. And we preemptively will pay you if we have to chase a client for work. So, or for money rather. So we've always got your back. SurePay's a great system. Talent really enjoy it because it keeps them nice and safe on the platform. And then, you know, you're not having to chase people down for money. So we want to keep you safe. Okay, I see one more here and then we're gonna call it. So when starting out as a brand new talent, how concerned should we be with the prospect of voices being cloned without consent or compensation? Yep, so Voices does not clone voices without consent or compensation. We have an opt-in program. If you would like to have your voice cloned, we're gonna be offering an opt-in program, but no, we'll never do anything. We've actually updated our terms of service to include that we have never and never will clone a talent's voice without their explicit consent. So that's been, we've addressed that publicly, and we've put out a blog post on that as well, just talking about how we're handling this sort of AI voice and how it's going to impact work here at Voices. So hope that answers your question, but yeah, no, never, it's not going to be an issue. We will not do anything like that going forward. Well, guys, I hope that this was fun, informational, all that good stuff. This is, I feel like I've been just rambling like about audio, which is kind of what I love to do. So this has been a lot of fun, but stay tuned for that video on Thursday. I'm really excited about it. It's like an 18-minute long video. So grab your snacks, grab your popcorn and your drinks, and just sit back, and we'll kind of go through the whole process. But ultimately, anything that you guys want from this channel, throw it in the comments, send us an email. The very first thing I do every morning is I open up YouTube and I go over the comments. It's me personally doing it. So I see everything that you guys send in, and we're using that as a very key way to gauge which content we should be producing for you, because I want to make sure that when you go to Voices, you know, you're getting the most up-to-date information on how to be successful with your career. We want you guys to thrive. We want you to book a ton of money and yeah, earn that cheddar. So I hope this was fun. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys jumping in here. Oh my goodness, one more question. Okay, yeah. I saw this one come in through social. Actually, I just didn't have a chance to get to it. How do you stop peaking when you have to do a battle cry? Just turn down your gain. You'll have to turn down your gain for that section. There's really no way around that. Your email address. Yeah, you can reach me. I'll just post my email right here. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, it's randy.rector@voices.com. And any comments on the YouTube channel, I see those first. So that's a great place to go for sure. But thank you guys so much. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the participation. Thank you guys for asking all these questions and just bringing so much love to this channel. You guys have been so much fun I see all your comments, and it just makes my day. So thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.